All right, we're live. Hey, Mike, I'm going to see you in a minute. What's up, Blue Collar Millionaires?
Hey,
Chris and I we have Mike Burns coming on. He's having technical difficulties. He should be on in a minute. Chris, where are you on? St. Thomas?
St. Thomas was yesterday, St. Martin today, St. Croix tomorrow. On a vacation, man. Business is doing fantastic without me because I've got a team. And that's what we're all about, is teaching you how to get these businesses together, build a fantastic team, a culture, a team that thrives and vibes without you. And then you get to sit here and build a lifestyle in paradise.
I agree. You know, Chris and I had a call the other day, and what did you say? Mike Wingert said, "I like it." It's so true.
Not every business is equal. I mean, it was such a
not.
great statement he made. I adopted it. It's me and Kevin both are just like, man, what a true statement to be made, because not every business produces the lifestyle that you want. So it really does.
It doesn't make the money you want.
It's super important that you sit there and you take the time. Yeah.
Where are you going to be in 2 years? And we're going to be talking about that in our paid group, the War Room, every week. Where are you going to be in 2 years if you buy this business? You know, how is it going to make a lot of money? Is it going to give you the lifestyle you want? Are you going to be able to go on vacation? All those things. Because I could think a lot of business. So can you, Chris, where you could go make a lot of money, but you wouldn't be on vacation.
No, absolutely not. Matter of fact, I was talking to my brother that's with me on this trip, and we were talking about his current business, and he's a solopreneur. And we were just talking about lifestyle and vacation and being able to have financial freedom to choose what you want to choose at whatever time you want to choose it. And he said, you know, what vehicle would produce me the income? That's the question I have. And it really made me think. And I thought, you know, so many people have that question. I had that question before I finally found the right vehicle as well. And what it boils down to is getting the right knowledge. And at the War Room, that's what it's about. We're trying to pull in the knowledge that we have as individuals, the knowledge from the group collectively, and then also teach you how to just seek out the knowledge that you want so that you can pull together the right vehicle, the right path. I mean, there's so much time's wasted on the wrong path, and then you get 10 years down the road and you're like, what the hell was I doing? But 10 years ago, if you would have chosen the right vehicle, I mean, take Kevin, for instance. His particular vehicle was not the ideal vehicle to produce what he's produced. But Kevin had some skill set and some grit that allowed him to come together and produce an amazing business that's going to be very sellable. So that's what it's about. Is the War Room is here to help you figure out the correct vehicle so that you can get to the lifestyle that you're trying to get to. Michael's on, man.
Mike Young.
Kevin, introduce him, man.
Looking lean, brother.
Trying, bro, trying.
Mike, I saw a picture of us just down in Dealmaker down in Florida last year. It's a huge difference.
Yeah, man, it's about 35 pounds difference.
Wow.
Health is wealth,
so Kevin,
man. It really goes together.
Kevin, introduce Michael.
Yeah.
Let's get Michael talking.
Everybody, this is Mike Burns, good friend of mine. He's a real estate investor. He's a mindset guy. He's a guy who's going through a lot of stuff in real estate now in Utah, and he's really going to come through full speed. Mike, thanks for coming on. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing. You know, you could tell us about when it was good, and then where you're at now, how things have changed in Utah.
Okay, cool. You guys hear me all right? I've been having a little bit of technical difficulties.
Yeah.
So I'm in Salt Lake City. Utah's been a top 3 market in the country the last 4 years in a row. Just to put that in perspective, like 5 years ago, our median house price was like $285, and now it's $605. So, I mean, our prices have just skyrocketed. So we're flipping 30 to 40 homes a year on average. We got about a 60-unit rental portfolio. I lend hard money. We've got Lifestyle Lending, which is a mortgage brokerage, Lifestyle Realty, which is a real estate brokerage. And then now I'm taking the money that I'm making in my real estate and my flips and my day job, and I'm putting it into buying businesses. So I got an equity piece in a few businesses and just trying to, be a hustler doing deals. So that's where we're at. Like I was saying, Utah's gone up so much that I think we've been feeling the crunch harder than most other markets. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So our market's down like 20% in a 4 to 6 month period. So when things started shifting, we had 18 deals on the roll, and we're just trying to get out of those deals, converting some of them to rentals, fire selling a bunch of shit, and just trying to navigate our way through it. And then in addition to that, on the hard money side of things, I've got like 4 different hard money loans that are in notice of default. We foreclosed on one, and we started the foreclosure process on 3 others. So we're just really in damage control mode and trying to exit these deals as quickly as we can, recapitalize, and just get to the sidelines, see what the market does.
So
It's been intense, man.
it is. So let me tell everybody. So this is how many things you got going. So you're buying and flipping 30 to 40 properties a year. You're lending out your own money, your hard money, lending hard money on your own. You have a mortgage brokerage. They're really in line with each other, everything. So we always talk about that, buying business or creating revenue streams are in, but you're all in these things and they're all being affected by this huge shift in the market.
Yeah, man. I mean, pretty much everything real estate related. So whether it's selling our flips, lending money out on new deals, the retail real estate side, listing appointments or helping buyers. And then on the mortgage side, applications for new home loans or refinances, refis are shot. Like no one's refinancing. So everything's being affected. So when it's good, it's good and it's awesome. And we're banging literally on 4 cylinders. But when you have a market correction, literally overnight, just snap of the fingers out in Utah, and we started seeing it. It's affected everything. So, you've got problems in all 4 verticals.
So how many of those 18 properties you feel like decent about at this point?
Well, we've moved through a lot of them. So I think we're down to seven properties or so. So we got a few, most of them are listed. We've got 2 more that we got to finish. They were like $120,000 rehabs. So full gut jobs on those. So they're taking a little longer. But just slower process, and doing price reductions, lots of price reductions. And then you drop the price 50 G's on a property and you think, oh, it's going to fire sell quick. And then it still doesn't sell. And then 2-3 weeks later, you're like, shit, I got to drop the price again. So we're literally 15 to 20% down in a 4 to 6 month period.
Wow.
Dude, I appreciate you telling that, because, just social media in general wants to put the highlight reels. I know I'm definitely guilty of putting highlight reels because we're trying to stimulate people's ambition. But the reality is it is ugly out there. That you're going to take some losses and you're going to take wins. The goal is to get enough knowledge so that you take more wins. So the fact that you're sharing some of these losses is super important, because that's the reality. And you've got to be, you got to have the stamina and a forethought to be able to push through these. What do you think set you up so that you were able to still stand and not just say fuck it and quit it?
Well, to address what you just said before I answer your question, I learn way more and I grow way more, tenfold more during the losses and the hard times and situations that are a struggle than I do winning. Because when you're winning and things are going good, you're making money, like it's easy, right? Things are just flowing. There's not a whole lot of adversity there. So you're just rolling along with it, next deal, and you have momentum, and that's awesome. But for me, the true growth comes through adversity, because that's when you need to find out who you are and what you're made of when shit's not easy. So I've been in the real estate business. I did my first deal in 2011 and I lost 50 grand. Me and my brother lost 50 G's on our second flip. And then we had 4 other properties at that time too. That first year we were flipping houses. We carried 4 deals all winter, and going through that process set me up mentally and gave me a mental and emotional capacity to handle a lot. Because during that, when you're brand new and you lose $50,000 on your second flip, and then you got 4 other properties you're carrying all winter, that's a heavy stress load to be able to have to deal with and get through. But I mean, that first winter when we had those 4 properties, I learned so much, like how important it is to reduce prices earlier on, how to not be emotional. You cannot be emotional in real estate. Like if you tie emotions to a deal, it's going to be a major problem. You got to set all your emotions to the side. But these 4 properties we carried in Utah, the winter, it gets cold. We didn't have money for the utilities, dude. So like I would for real keep the thermostat set at like 50 degrees so the pipes wouldn't bust during the winter. And back then, like we'd have 1 showing a week. I'd get a phone call from an agent, hey, we want to show, the house on whatever, Herbert Avenue. And I would literally drive over to the house, crank the heat back up to like 75, try and warm it up for the showing. And then I'd sit across the street and watch the showing happen. The second they were leaving, I'd be blowing up the agent. How'd it go? Is there anything we can do? Like, we're investors. If there's any modifications they want made to the house, like we're happy to do that. And then I'd go back in and turn the heat back down because we couldn't afford the fucking utility bills, man. And so that first year in real estate, going through that and then taking that $50,000 loss, like, you really got to go deep, man, to get through that, especially when you're new and you don't have the resources and you're not established like I am today. So the point that I'm making is every point that I've hit adversity in my career, it's made a better, more seasoned, polished guy on the back end. And I think the losses are why I am where I am today, not the wins.
I 100% agree.
Yeah. Tell us about, so I've not heard it completely. Kevin's told me a little bit about your journey in the beginning. I want to hear about sleeping in the car. I think you sold Christmas trees. Like, dude, that's an inspiring story to know where you're at this point.
Cool. I'll give a quick backstory. So I grew up in the nursery business. My parents owned like a garden center nursery landscape company in Tehachapi, California. 1 junior high, 1 high school. I had to drive 25 minutes to get to school. But that's how I grew up, man. So like, this business ran, like a lot of small business owners, the business generally runs your life. Like your life is around the business, and that's not the way it should be. And that's why everyone's on this call and we join masterminds. We're learning how to have our business work for us, not us work for our business. So I grew up in that environment. It was a great, like the greatest gift I could have had because I learned about credit. And I just like, you grow up in a small family owned business, you hear your parents talking about stuff. They taught me about money and about credit, about keeping your name and your word. And I was in a small town, so I saw the power of relationships here too. Like my dad would go to the bank. There was no waiting in line at the bank. It was like he showed up, it was like, oh, Mr. Burns, we can help you over here. Or like he wasn't feeling good. He made a phone call, went to his doctor's office and got an IV on the front porch. Like that's how I grew up. So I understood how powerful relationships were too. So that set this foundation that I had. Went to junior college for like a semester. And my dad to this day jokes with me. He says, son, I'll never forget when you called me and you said, I'm done with school and I just want to make as much money as I can, as fast as I can. And I don't give a fuck what I do. He's like, that's literally what I said to him. So he sold his nursery when I was like a sophomore in high school. And I watched him take the money that he made selling a nursery, and he bought a bunch of lots and partnered with a contractor that he had known for 30 years in town. And they built all these spec homes. And that's when I first kind of saw real estate. I'm giving you the long backstory here, Chris, to your question. So anyways, see my dad, and this is like 2004, 5, 6, 7, no, probably like 2005 to 2008. They built, I don't know, 20, 25 spec homes and whatever their deal was. But my dad basically provided the lot in front of the money to build the house. And then the other dude built the house, and my dad kind of learned the process through that. So I would be around that a little bit, cleaning up construction sites and just different shit like that. But then I noticed my dad's buying a condo at the beach, sight unseen, and we're getting a different house. And like, I'm just noticing money and the lifestyle changing. And I remember going to Oregon where he bought this condo on the beach, and just watching him go in and buy a bunch of shit and furnishing the house, like no big deal. And I was like, dude, what? This isn't how it was. Like, what's going on? You just rolling in the dough or what? You're just buying a bunch of shit, furnishing stuff, buying condos on the beach, like sight unseen off the internet. So that's when I was like, I connected money is in real estate. You know, this is a totally different environment than what I grew up in. We grew up middle class, but like this was a whole different deal. So that's where real estate got on my radar. But back to being like 19 years old, I moved up to Oregon. I was working at Target, going to junior college. I quit Target, quit school, went up to Oregon and started working at just a retail garden center there. And I was going to open my own up there in Oregon. And then I ended up getting in the wholesale side of the business. So I was doing inside sales for a company called Monrovia. And Monrovia in the nursery world is like Microsoft is in the computer world, like huge. They were doing like 160 million a year back then. And they were a wholesale grower that provided pretty much the majority of the independently owned garden centers, all their shit, you know, all their product. So I was doing inside sales, and I had like 8 different guys that I would help who were outside sales guys and had a territory. So I got real good at that. I did 2.1 million in sales my first year, set a company record, and I was just kicking ass, building confidence. And a territory was not going to open up for me with those guys because like people would die in their territory. You'd have dudes 30, 40, 50 years. So I applied for a territory that came up. They didn't give it to me. They gave it to a guy who had been with the company for 4 years. He was older than me. He was from the town that the territory opened up in. So after I didn't get that, I said, fuck this, I'm out. And I went and basically set up a deal with a guy named Leo Gentry, who had a 1,000-acre nursery in Oregon, and he gave me exclusive rights to sell his stuff in British Columbia and Alberta and Canada. And then I had like Montana, Wyoming, Oklahoma, North Texas, Utah, Eastern Washington, Oregon, basically the Western United States and Western Canada. I had 0 customers. It was a 10% commission only and just an opportunity. So I moved to Salt Lake because it was in the middle of the territory. At the time, I was like 22 years old. I wasn't old enough to rent a car, so I drove everywhere. So I go on like 2-week road trips. I'd leave Salt Lake and I'd bounce and go all the way Idaho, full circle through Montana, up into Canada, over to Alberta, Canada, and then 1,050 miles back home. Edmonton, Alberta, Canada to Salt Lake City is 1,049 miles. And I would straight shot that thing after being on the road for like 2 weeks. So anyways, I was driving around in my car all the time because I couldn't rent a car. And I started with 0 customers and I was 1099 commission only, had to pay my own way for everything. So I'd be sleeping in rest stops in 5-degree weather in the middle of Montana, you know, while I was on these 2-week road trips, just cold calling nurseries. So I'd roll up to Billings, Montana, and I'd Google, you know, nurseries. And then I'd see all the nurseries, and then I'd take those nurseries and I'd put them in a map, like Google Map, and it would map it out. And then I would just fucking follow the map all day. And I'd do anywhere from 10 to 20 cold calls a day. I had a little photo album with pictures of all the plants that we had. And so I'd roll up with a photo album, a catalog, a special sheet, and I'd highlight all the good deals and make notes on there, just trying to like get some stuff. And I'd literally show up unannounced and I'd ask for the manager, the owner. And I'd be walking, you know, around the yard with them because most of the time they wouldn't even give me 5 minutes. I'd be like trying to show them my pictures and shit. And that's what I did for 4 years. So that's where I learned to sell for real. Like I got good on the phones when I was doing inside sales, but then like cold calling, doing that. So I did that for 4 years. And then one day my brother, called me and he's like, hey, are you going to be home this weekend? I was like, yeah, man, what's up? He's like, well, there's a house flipping workshop this weekend. Cause my brother had seen my dad and what was happening in real estate too, after he sold the nursery. So we went to this free house flipping workshop. We signed up, you know, for the $1,500 program. And then we signed up for the $40,000 bus tour, maxed out a credit card for 10 G's on the deposit. Thank God my dad talked me out of that. So we canceled the bus tour. We would have been dead before we started. And then we showed up to the local SLRIA, the local RIA, Salt Lake Real Estate Investors Association. And from that point forward, it took us 1 year of going to every meeting, every luncheon, all the shit. And we wrote 94 offers and then we got our first deal. So a year and 94 offers while I'm hustling, selling trees. And we finally got our first deal, made 24,000 on that flip. We did the demo ourselves. We did the landscape ourselves. Everything went wrong on the first deal. Had to fire the contractor. He put a faulty lien on the house. Then it didn't appraise. We had to get a second appraisal. And then we had to hire an attorney to get the lien off the thing. Title held all the money in escrow after it closed. And that was our first deal. Made 24 grand. I thought I had arrived. I walked away from the whole broker business that I spent 4 years building, jumped straight into real estate. And then we bought those other 4 houses and lost 50 G's on
man.
deal number 2 and carried all those properties all winter. And I think we lost like 10 grand on one. We made like 9 grand on one, and we broke even on one. And that was how I got into real estate, man. And that was all back in 2012.
So after that fourth one, and you had lost it, that you went for the next one, you knew it had to work. That was probably your last.
Dude, I remember sitting there saying, like, this is the biggest thing. If you guys listen to anything, like, I remember sitting there. We were in Maui. Every year my family would go to Maui. I'm in Maui. It's like right around, I don't know, probably November, December. And I was just fucking miserable, man, like stressed out. We have these 4 properties. I'm broke. We can't even afford the power and gas bills. Nothing's selling. We're not getting any showings. And I walked away from my broker business that I built up to about $500,000 a year in sales. And I was making 10% commission on it. Not really a big deal. And there was just this moment where I was like, plan B is reinforcing plan A. And I removed quitting from the table. It wasn't a fucking option. It was not an option. And then we ended up getting 3 wholesale deals for about 50 grand. So driving for dollars, me and my brother, anytime we had downtime, we'd be driving neighborhoods just looking for shitty houses. And I had pads like this that were bright orange, bright yellow, and bright pink. And we would just write, hey, I want to buy this house. We'll pay cash. Call me if you're interested. And we would just put them on doors. And we had 2 phone calls one week. And we wholesaled one for 20 grand and the other one for 10 grand. And that 30 G's like kept us moving.
Yeah.
It like literally got us through. And we'd be going every Saturday. We'd look up the estate sales, and we'd show up at the estate sales around all of Salt Lake. And young guys, inexperienced, look way younger than I do now, just saying, hey, what's going on with the house? Sorry about the situation, but we want to buy the house, and not knowing the process, not understanding emotions are high, and, just hustling, dude, just fucking hustling. And that's how I got my start. But really, when we just said, hey, man, I had walked away from my broker business. I quit on college. There's no way I'm working for anybody. So I had to make it work. And that's where I came up with this saying is plan B is reinforcing plan A.
Love that.
And here we are, 10 years later, 11 years later.
I just wrote that in the comments. Plan B was reinforcing plan A. I love that, because if you hadn't walked away from that nursery, so that would have been 50 grand, a lot of people would have went right back in that.
Yeah, man.
And you would have never had the success and learned everything you did. It's so easy to do that. So many people when I grew up, everybody was like, you got to have plan B. You got to have a plan B. I remember when I went, same thing. When I came out of high school, my parents wanted me to go to college, and I did it for like a semester. I'm like, I don't want to do this. I want to just go all in with what I'm doing. My parents were like, no, you need to be able to fall back on this. I'm like, I don't want to fall back on this. I think if you do that, you end up, your plan B becomes your plan A.
Once you quit, and that's one thing that I'm grateful the way I was raised, dude. Quitting was never allowed. I was never allowed to quit. The only thing I've ever quit, I quit that job at Target, but outside of that, the only time I've ever quit anything in my life was when I first moved to Oregon. I applied for a job at Red Robin to be a busser, and they hired me. And then I showed up day one, and they stuck me in the kitchen, and I was like, "Fuck no, I'm not."
Yeah,
I'm sitting there putting mayo on burgers, dude. I'm on the cook line, and I quit. Like I left the first break I had, I bounced, and I didn't come back. I remember getting a check for like $3 and some change, for like the 2 hours or whatever. But never being able to quit was a huge lesson, and I'm grateful for that with my parents, because I think once you quit something once, then you've told yourself it's okay to quit, and it's going to be easier to quit the next time. So Chris, to go back to what we said earlier, for me, I've had the most growth and the most lessons through adversity and through the hard times, because that's when you find out who you are and what you're made of. And when you don't quit, and you didn't quit, and you grind it out, and you get on the other side, there's a new version of you that has a higher capacity that's going to help you excel forward.
I totally agree with it. And everything you're going through, and you get through it, and then it just make you that much stronger. Like all those things that happened to me in 2007, 8, 9, it was brutal, but I feel like so much more confident now. Now I look back and I say, wow, I could have pivoted this way or that way. It would have been easier for me. So it makes you more confident, but I learned more about myself in like that 1 or 2 year period than I did in the other 50 years. You'll find out everything you want to know when it's really bad and it's really tough. I loved your live you did about not having emotion and staying calm in the moment. It's really key. And
you can't get, especially in real estate, man, and business in general. I just see you can't be emotional, because you're making emotional decisions, which are not good.
And you got to make a lot of, I know you've had to make a lot of difficult phone calls, and you got to restructure stuff. But when you do it and you get through it, it just makes you feel that much stronger.
Well, dude, and
people are smart. They understand it.
Yeah, no, and I'm in a position now to where I'm going to get through it. It was a little dicey there a few months ago, but we've exited some stuff and recapitalized it and got liquid. So everything will be fine. It's just going to be a matter of how hard is some of these going to take on the chin. And then, some of our reaching out to some of my main investors and telling them, hey, like, these flips are real rough. I don't really want to sell them at $150,000 loss. What do you think about staying in the deal with me for 18 months? And I need you to come from 12% to 9% on the interest, but I'll start making you monthly payments, and really just picking up the phone and trying to negotiate and problem solve and come up with solutions for everybody. Because my investors, man, they're relying on me to execute, right? Their money's in my hands. So they want to support me, and they want to work with me and see me be successful. And that was really eye-opening when I started making some of these calls, me thinking like, I hope they work with me, or I'm going to have to, I'm going to really have to present this and sell them on why it's a good idea. And it was really cool to see. Everything I do in my life is relationship based, man. Everything is about the relationship. I'll lose money 10 times over before I burn a bridge or a relationship, as long as like everything ethically is happening on the other side. And those relationships have really carried me through in challenging times with my investors, my contractors, just everybody, and then also when you are doing business and you put the relationship first, and you do the right thing, and you make the decision that your values and your morals and your integrity is not for sale, no matter what period, people see that. You can't fake that. That's an energy that people see, and it actually builds trust. So as I make these difficult phone calls to investors or whoever it is that we're working with, it not only do they have more respect for me, and it calms down the emotions. Now everyone's less emotional because there's no guessing. I'm keeping everyone updated what's going on. I'm over communicating. I'm letting them know, hey, they feel respected, but they also feel safe and more secure, and it strengthens that relationship. And because I've operated the way that I do, especially with my investors, I got guys that'll wire $1 million on a fucking text message. I don't have to give them an address, photos, a scope of work, comps, none of that shit. Like, it's a text message now. And we do all the proper paperwork with title and everything, but the level of trust is there in the relationship, because it's how you show up. And it's not in the good times. When it's good, everyone's winning. It's easy. Like that gets overseen and overlooked. It's in the hard times. And when you're faced with adversity, that's when you show who you really are and how you're going to show up. And are you going to stay loyal to your values and your ethics and your morals, and do what you say you're going to do?
Well, let's talk about getting people to invest and how that looks, because a lot of people ask about this. I think it's so important. And what you just said there is so true. Because I invested some money with you a year ago, and but it's 100% you. Even though we did all the paperwork and stuff, I know this guy, and things are changing now. You're gonna make it. You'll figure it all out. So I think people, they think like they have to lead with this deal that's going to make 25% for somebody or all this. But people who have money really want to know they're with a person that's going to be responsible, going to be communicate and all that. I'd much rather make 8 or 10% with somebody that I really like, that I can pick up the phone with, than 25% with somebody and I don't know what's going to happen, because I've done both. The people with the highest things, they flake on you sometimes. You know, like I want to see a guy with a track record, and you're investing in the person. Of course, the deal has to make sense, but I need a guy who, I just want somebody that if I call them, and I'm not going to browbeat them about stuff, I just want to know if I call them, they're going to call me back and tell me what's going on.
Yeah.
If it
Well,
hits the fan.
it's true, man. And I don't know. And so one thing I take very serious is I invest a lot of time and resources into my relationships and my self-development and learning. So I've got a lot of guys that are, not a lot, but a handful of guys that are a lot more seasoned than me, especially in real estate and here in the Utah market. And so I reach out to them and I talk to them because we have a good relationship, but also they have experience that I don't in the market. You can't shortcut time and cycles. And, I was talking to these guys. I'm like, was it in 2008? Because I wasn't in real estate in 2008. I was like, was it like this intense, this fast? And they're like, no, dude, 2008 did not change. Like we've literally lost 15% in 3 months, 4 months, like just bam, with interest rates going. The beginning of the year, we were at 3.25%, and now we're at like 7. It's wild. Like rates have never doubled in history that quickly before. So the market just came out real quick. So I guess the point that I'm making is things move, they changed really fast, and it's like we haven't seen anything like this. So when you can lean on the people that have more experience than you, that kind of helps. I kind of forgot where I was going with that, but just communicating is a big deal,
When you say somebody will send you $1 million with that thing, I don't think people realize how much work that takes. That's like, you got to be in the right groups. You got to present yourself the right way, and you got to have the confidence for people to do that. Because I think people think that's like, so many people ask me, oh, I want to buy this business or anything. How do I raise money? And I always say, because I don't want to sound like an ass, but you got to be investable. Mm-hmm. You got to make people feel confident about everything you do. How you move on social media, how you move in person, how do you move with these groups really matters. People are watching it, whether they think they are or not. At some point, they're going to be like, yeah, I would invest in this guy.
Well, here's the thing. You just said something that's real important. I want to talk about it. One of my core values is transparency. So whether you see me on this call we're doing right now, or you run into me and Kevin watching the UFC fight in Vegas, or you meet me at a mastermind or wherever, you're going to get the same version of me. It doesn't, like, I'm not a different dude with different people. Like, I'm not putting on this front or whatever. And the scary thing about social media, and this ties into sharing the losses too, is you just have to be good at marketing if it's only online. And that's what you and I see, Kevin, with all these different masterminds. You see all this smoke and mirrors, and you see someone's one thing online, and you think they're balling and all this, but they don't know what they're doing. They're losing money. Like, it's all just a facade and smoke and mirrors. So that's, again, where you go to, like, put in that money with me. You called me about it and was like, hey, you got some opportunities. And it's because we've been building the relationship, and I've been, just showing up. But when you show the losses and not only the highlight reels, it makes you more relatable, which builds a relationship, because then people can trust you. They know you, they like you, they trust you. And then you've kind of proven yourself because you're showing all of it, not just the highlight reel. You got to be willing to show, like, hey, I don't know everything. I lost 40 grand on this deal. Last summer I did a video, we lost 40 G's. I've done hundreds of flips, and we lost 40 grand in the hottest market that we've ever had in Utah. Shit, everything went wrong, got in a big battle with the city, and things just happen. But it goes back to, like, do people trust you or not?
It's really so true. And then being authentic to yourself, you've really done that. You talk about different things on social media, and people do market themselves people know the formula. If you show lots of wins, hey, I just bought 100 units and all this, it does. A lot of people go for that. It's not to say that some of them aren't definitely authentic, but so many people on there, you have no idea what they're doing. For me, I was like, when I saw all these people doing on social media, I'm like, I'm a blue collar guy. I am a blue collar millionaire. So I'm like, that's what I like to be. It's what I like to talk about. I'll just do it and see where the audience is. And it's working. And because I saw you do it, I see different guys do it. Mark do it. I see Mike Fallett do it. He really just, like, he's just who he is. And certain people probably don't like him at all because he says stuff, but it's like he's just who he is and it works. And that's who you want around you too. So, I mean, I see so many people that get behind you, and I think that's really because you're authentic.
Well, I appreciate that, man. And Mark, in our last DM meeting, Mark said something that caught you. It caught us both at the same time. We're sitting there, but he said, just win with winners. Like, do stuff with winners. Why fuck around with these guys that you don't know or this or that? Like, go win with winners. And that's why relationships matter, and that's why masterminds matter, and networking, and this blue collar millionaire group. You've got the event coming up in a week and a half, 2 weeks. Like, that's why you invest time and money to be in these groups, because there's a entry point, and like not everyone is showing up to that. Not everyone is investing in themselves in that. And the higher that ticket gets, in my opinion, the more legitimate the room and the more qualified the room is, especially if you have someone who's leading the group who has values and morals and integrity, and there's like a filtering process. And that's why you do that. It's getting yourself access to a room instead of spending all that time trying to go find who's the real players around, your town, or you go to a 10X event where there's 10,000 people there and you're meeting all these people. It's hard to find out who's legit and who's not.
Yeah. When Mark Evans has a great way of making things really simple, but that win with winners really hit me because I actually told my mom that line, and she was like, yeah, because you've been trying to win with losers a lot of your life. And I don't know why I do that, but I've been trying to pull people up, and, you help different people. You're better off getting in a room with winners and just being you. Like, you look at the deal maker stuff. If I'm going to be partners with people in business, I talked to Mike Hostetler. I might be doing something with him. Like, do it with people who already are winning. If you try to do it with people who you can't help people who don't want to help themselves. They'll end up hurting you. I know, because I've done it so many times. I've had people where they don't do the right thing, and then they'll drag you down at some point. It makes no sense.
Well, not only that, but there's, like, I like to talk about the daily disciplines and talk about it. Like, be about it, don't talk about it. And, a lot of people, they're all in and they have all these great ideas and they're all excited and shit until something hard happens. And you don't want to find out someone's character and mental toughness when you got money involved with them and shit happens and goes wrong on a bad deal. And you go back to talking about the percentages and stuff earlier. Like, I've got hard money loans with guys that are newer investors at 5-6 deals deep. And I checked references and stuff, but I'm having to foreclose on guys because they folded. They literally quit. They walked away from deals and like just have the attitude of, well, I'll just file bankruptcy, I guess. And it's like, dude, you signed a personal guarantee. Not only did you do this deal, but you signed a personal guarantee, and just a quick nudge of me saying, hey, let me remind you, bro, like, you signed a personal guarantee on this. You don't get to just say, oh, it's a bad deal and walk away. That's not how this shit works. And you follow up with, I guess I'll just file bankruptcy. Then it's like, if 150,000 is like, you're going to file BK and fuck your entire credit and your name and your reputation, especially with a guy like me with the reputation that I have in my marketplace based on the relationships, you're going to trash your name over that. That's crazy to me. But again, like, if people aren't doing the work and they're not investing in themselves, and they don't have a foundation of core values and standards, like, I'm losing the heart. I'm learning that the hard way, like, don't do business with people who aren't winners.
I remember you told me some guy who said, when you were questioning him about and he says, I'll just file bankruptcy.
Yeah.
That pissed me off. I hate that, because I had somebody say something like that to me over like $32,000. Bro, I'll just file bankruptcy. It made me want to go through the phone. Like, you're so weak.
You want to know what pissed me off even more? I started doing asset search on this motherfucker, and he has a $2.4 million home. And so I found that out after I did a deed in lieu on the first deal. So I have a second deal with this guy for like 50 grand. And because of his attitude on the first one, and then finding out that he's got this property on the second one, I don't care if I spend 50 to recover 50, dude. I'm coming hard. Good. Because you just can't tolerate that shit, And sometimes you got to serve lessons, I guess.
Mike, somebody asked, what does your acquisitions and dispositions team look like?
Okay. Really pay attention to this, because acquisitions, dispositions, all my CRM, my whole big thing that everyone's always talking about, whoever did that, whoever asked that question, I want you to put in how many deals you're doing. I don't spend any money on marketing. I do acquisitions, and I don't have dispositions. We don't really wholesale. If I do sell a deal off, I pick up the phone and I make 5 phone calls and it's sold, because it's a real deal. So we don't have a fancy CRM. I don't have cold callers. I don't have VAs. I don't have a marketing budget. I don't have an acquisitions team, a dispositions team, none of that shit. I use a fucking piece of paper and a pen, and I work.
Yeah.
Like, I work. I show up and I work, and I build relationships and do everything I've been talking about here. And that's how we, I'm doing over 100 deals a year between the different things we have going on. So, and there's nothing wrong with the question, but you should be like, you don't need an acquisitions anything until you literally can't handle it yourself anymore. You don't need a dispositions anything. And like, why do you want a dispositions? Like, dispositions is all about relationships. So you should be going and building relationships and able to pick up a phone and make 5 or 10 calls, or send out a quick text or email. And if it's a real deal, it's gone. So I'm not really in alignment with all the acquisitions, dispositions, and all the courses and shit that everybody's talking about. I think you just go work and do it.
I totally agree with that. Where people worry about stuff. People used to ask me all the time, what CRM do you use for Gutter King? Bro, that has nothing to do with the success.
It's like you're
Like,
doing
I
2 or
use
3.
Google Sheets. Like, I use Google Sheets for like a decade. It doesn't matter. I was just good at getting good jobs and making a profit. Like, that doesn't, of course, like when you get to a certain point, but you just got to worry about how do you get jobs, or in your case, how do you get properties? Until you can't handle it, you don't need it. And then you got to figure
100%.
it out for sure. But that's kind of a marketing thing too. People are like, oh, they're going to come to my course and I'm going to show you in 3 days, I'm going to show you how to do everything. It doesn't
This
work.
is what it is, bro. It's the silver bullet, and everyone is willing to swipe their credit card for the silver bullet with all the magic answers, and it doesn't exist. It's called building relationships, writing offers, and fucking showing up and working every day consistently over time, and then you build momentum and you get results. Like, there's no, like, yeah, there's blueprints and all of this stuff, but like, until you literally can't handle it anymore, you need to be doing it yourself, because how are you going to hire and or train someone to do something that you don't know how to do yourself? They're never going to listen to you. They're not going to respect you. And if you're ever in a leadership role and you're asking other people to do something that, number one, you haven't done, or number two, you're not willing to do, you're a poor leader, and you're never going to get the traction that you want. And you're never going to get the team around you that you want, because they can see you're full of shit and you're asking them to do stuff that you're not willing to do yourself, or you don't even know how to do. So it's a good question, but go do everything in your business yourself first. So then you actually know what it's like, and you can coach and help and guide the people that work with you. Because if they come to you and you don't know how to help them, and you haven't actually done it yourself, they're never going to respect you. And how are you going to build loyalty and culture if the people don't, they know you don't even do it yourself?
That's so true. Mike, I love that, because that's how I feel when guys tell me they want to buy businesses, or sometimes it's young guys and they're like, yeah, I'll just hire somebody to do this. And one guy in particular was asking me about a really blue collar business, like a roofing gutter business. He had no experience on it. And there was 9 guys working. He was like, yeah, I'll just go in there. I'm going to talk to them. And I was thinking, bro, they're not going to listen to you. They're going to see it like all over you that you're not this guy. I said, you either have to get down in the trenches with them, or you got to get somebody who is in the trenches with them. It just doesn't work. I know that from my own experience. Guys always respected me because I did the work, and they knew I had done many more years than them. It matters.
Well, dude, everyone wants to skip the process. I met this guy on Mark flew some dudes out on the jet when he was speaking at a thing in Utah, and I met up with him and then flew back, and I met this guy on that thing. And I was talking to him. I said, hey, I think I could help you out with a couple stuff specifically around mindset, because that's my thing. And so I got on the phone with this dude for free, gave him an hour of my time. And he kept like, oh, well, I want to do this, but then I was thinking I should do that. And then I was thinking I'll wholesale virtually and in this market. And he wasn't committing to anything. He wasn't actually fucking starting and doing anything. He'd start it and then move on to the next thing. And he was trying to avoid the work. So we have this whole conversation. And then he's thinking, well, real estate, wholesaling, maybe this, maybe that, and all these different things. And I told him, I'm like, dude, do you see what the one common thing is here? And he's like, no, what is that? And I said, you don't make any decisions because you don't even want to get started because you're so scared of failing that you don't even start. So you keep hopping around. And it pissed me off because I spent really calm with this guy and being patient with him. And I'm trying to see him, show him, like trying to guide him so he can see what he's doing. So he'll actually get his shit together. And towards the end of the call, he goes, well, what if I just bought a business that was already like, and I could just drop in, I would just drop into a well-oiled machine that was already going. I was like, dude, you fucking run it into the ground in 90 days or less. That's what would happen because you don't know what you're doing. You have zero experience. You don't want to work. Everyone would quit. You would fuck the whole thing up inside of 90 days. I guarantee it. And it pissed me off because I'm like, dude, look what you just did. We talked for 45 minutes. We talk about how you need to do the work and you need to gain the experience and you need to just go take action and do it. And your follow-up question is, how can I avoid all of that? I'll just buy a business. And it's like, well, number one, you don't know how to raise money. So you're probably not going to be able to buy a business. You don't know anything about analyzing or running them. So you're not even going to know how to analyze the business. And let's just say by some long shot, you end up owning it. You have no fucking clue about anything. How's the business going to, you think you're just going to show up and be the owner and it's just going to like run itself? Like, come on, dude.
I mean,
Yeah,
I find this, I've had a few conversations with people. They feel like that same way. I'm like, it doesn't work that way.
But the problem, I believe the problem is their only point of reference is looking at Instagram and all these guys selling them a quick silver bullet and come to my event. You're going to learn everything in 3 days or whatever it is. And people don't want to work. Like that's the bottom line. You're not going to meet anyone who's successful that hasn't worked and grinded it out. And like, you can't go from here to there. You have to leave where you're at to go where you're going. And there's a journey in between. And if you're not willing to make that journey, you're never going to be able to go where you're going because you're not leaving where you're at.
Yep. So what did I tell you when we were out in Vegas? I was like, you're a deal maker. I mean, that's a super high level skill. That's what I think you should do if you're getting into the buying businesses. I know you have the medical one, but if you do this, you could find deals, raise money, analyze them, and get people put in place. People who are or don't have that skill set but are operators who have that skill set. I could see you taking down a bunch of businesses just like you did houses and that being a whole stream of income. Can absolutely see that. I think people should really play with their strengths.
Yeah, I appreciate that, dude. And just the compliments that you give me and it builds to the confidence. But yeah, I'm gonna buy some businesses this year. Mark my words on whatever today is. I'm for sure gonna buy some businesses this year. And it's kind of what I love about real estate. And we've talked about this, but for everyone watching, what I love about flipping houses is it's given me such a strong foundation because you got to find deals and then you got to learn how to like underwrite the deals and you need to raise the money to buy the deal. Then you got to hire the contracting team and project manage and execute on the deal. So you're like, there's all these different areas of business that house flipping requires. And it's really kind of the same thing buying a business as it is flipping a house. I mean, a longer different moving pieces, but you got to find the deal, raise the money, manage the people. So all the skill sets that I've learned in real estate the last 10, 11 years, I think are really going to help me transition into, buying businesses too.
I think 100% it's very similar. Chris and I and Mark's involved in this. We're doing this, this monthly group. It's going to be weekly calls. It's all about buying businesses, how to raise money, how to find them, how to locate them, how to pick the winners, and then Chris and I will really be helping people how would you scale it and operate it. But when I think the number one guys are real estate guys because they have the skill set to do it. Yourself and like I was talking to Terry Summers for like an hour in the cigar bar that day. I know he can be successful in it. He has all the skill set. He got it. Like And then he knows it's, if you run a real estate business like you, where you have 18 properties, that's not one. Like that's the same person that can do all this. It's really like going from a landscaping business to a concrete business. It's like that same person can figure that out. Yeah, there's a little bit of an adjustment, but that's different than, not to say that a W-2 employee, some guy who's an engineer can't do it. He can do it, but it's going to be a very difficult, or it's going to be a lot of things changes. He's going to have to put in more work and learn more things than say you or Terry would. But I think buying real estate guys, buying up businesses for cash flow while the market changes and still doing what they're doing in real estate, I think that guy's going to kill it in 3-5 years. It's going to be a really nice lifestyle.
Well, lifestyle is my brand, bro, and I'm trying to be that guy.
You come in the group with us and talk, and yeah, it's going to be really cool. I think there's going to be, and it's like, if it's every week, the guys who come in every week and they listen, and then they go do their homework and they call brokers and they do all the things you did in real estate. They build relationships. They're talking to people about money. They're putting in the work. They're going to own businesses. They don't even need to own businesses. They need to own one. If you own one business that say nets 300, 400,000, and then you build it and it's netting 6, 7, you can go buy more. I have more than that, and I look to buy more, but you don't need to. You got a pretty nice life.
Well, something that I think is important to mention too is you don't have to, like, say you're newer, or you're not even newer, but you're just, you're newer into buying businesses or doing whatever. You have a skill set that you're good at. You don't have to know how to do everything. And this is one thing that I've really learned from Mark. Bring your value, so maybe your value is operations, or maybe your value is raising money, or maybe your value is like putting deals together. Like, you don't have to have all the pieces, and that's why your network matters so much. You plug into Blue Collar Millionaire Network or these different masterminds. That's where I met Kevin at. And you have a deal, or you have a piece to a deal. I can promise you everyone else wants to do a deal too. So just bring your part, bring your value add to the deal. And you don't have to have the money, or you don't have to have like all of it. And that's another thing where you could get started too, is, I think a lot of people don't get started because they are scared they can't do it, or they have gaps in their skill set. So they just don't even try. And that's why the important of like relationships and networking is so important. And then hanging out with winners is so important, because that's how things happen.
I totally agree. You can do your part and just kill it in that thing. And you can, especially if you're partner up with people with different skill sets, and you guys, and you can kill it. Like Mark is coming in on this whole weekly thing. Mark's got a different skill set than me. He's really good at getting attention, and he's got a huge platform that Chris and I don't have. But Chris and I have other things that we can be really strong in. So it's it's a really good partnership. If everybody's doing the same thing, it doesn't work. If everybody's banging the hammer, it doesn't work. You got to find people who can do it, and that's why you and we have different skill sets as well. And then we're just in line with a lot of things. I could definitely see buying business with you.
Yeah, well, and it's, it's one thing that, and I'm excited for the event and what I'm going to talk about. You and I mean, you kind of already know what I'm going to come with, but
yeah, talk about that.
It's not necessarily about what the business is or what the opportunity is. It's who are you, and like self-development and who you are, and having a foundation to stand on, around your daily disciplines and your core values and just your value system. And who is it that I have to become that would be capable of partnering with Kevin on a deal, or partnering with Mark on a deal? Or who do I have to become that's even capable of being able to sit at the table and even keep up with the conversation? Like, the foundation that you build upon yourself is so much more important than what the actual opportunity is. So like the skill sets, the values, the morals, the work ethic, the mindset, all of this stuff of like who you are and how you show up with everything that you've done to create and build and develop yourself. That's what everybody should be focused on. And then as a result of that, that's where you're going to have the opportunities come, because you've laid the groundwork and the foundation, and that gets looked over so much, you know. And I'm a real estate guy. Anyone who's, you know, any building has to have a solid foundation. And that's why I've kicked ass and dominated the last few years and really grown my business. But this same foundation that I'm talking about around mindset and daily disciplines and your values and ethics and morals and relationships, and that always being the number one focus, that's the reason why I've been able to like get through this catastrophic situation with a divorce going, where she's trying to take everything I've spent my life building and just all the not cool stuff going on there, and then working through that, and then getting pummeled by the market and literally having my entire livelihood and all my cash and credit in deals and just leverage as much as I could be, and the pressure is super high. The only reason I'm thriving through all of this is because I double down on myself. I'm in the best shape that I've been. I'm at the gym every day. I'm monitoring my environment, what I'm eating, what I'm drinking, what I'm listening to, what I'm watching, who I'm spending my time around. All of that shit that you're doing builds the foundation of who you are as an individual. And that's the person that's going to be able to show up and either perform on putting that deal together or have the relationships to where you get brought into a deal because you've laid all this groundwork and foundation for shit to actually happen on. That is more important than anything.
I love that. That you just gave it all in a thing. But you know, controlling the controllables. We talk about working out. I always worked out my whole life, but when I was in the darkest days, and like 2007, 2008, I was working out like a madman. I looked better than I ever did in my life because I wanted like that control. And Mike, you know, I'm a night owl like you. I was a member of a 24-hour gym. I was over there at 1 a.m. every day, and I was still getting up at 7 a.m. Like you couldn't tell me anything that I wasn't going. I was going there. I was running 5 miles at the gym and working out. So I was doing like 95-minute, 2-hour type workouts from like 12:30 to like 2:30 in the morning. But I needed like that, like I said, hey, there's one thing I can control here. I can get in incredible shape. Mm-hmm. And that really helped me, like that discipline of like doing that. If I had instead said, you know what, I'm just going to go home and drink beers and eat ice cream, I don't feel like I would have got through it at the same thing. I needed like that daily thing. Like I saw progress and it went to other things.
But more importantly, man, is what you're doing through that process, working out and like doing the work and all this stuff, is you're doing what you said you were going to do.
Yeah.
And when you do what you say you're going to do with yourself, not with other people, I'm talking about with you, but all of us have been told, you know, you tell yourself you're going to do something and then you don't do it. You feel like a piece of shit. And then the next time you go to tell yourself you're going to do something, you know, you quit the first time. You know, last time you said you were going to do this and you didn't do it. So you start getting this relationship with yourself where you don't respect yourself, and you know that you might tell yourself you're going to do something, but deep down, you know, you're not going to do it. You start getting this like you don't respect yourself, and you get a bad relationship with yourself. And that's when all the negativity starts, you know, yapping in your ear. Versus if you say, hey, I'm going to be at the gym at this time, or I'm going to make these calls, or you have your to-do list. That's why I love my to-do list. This isn't actually it, but I just grabbed this because I want to make notes. But I love having pen and paper with the shit that I said I'm going to do, because nothing feels better than crossing something off my list. Every time I cross something off that list, I feel productive. I'm seeing myself moving the needle, but I'm getting the reward of crossing it off the list. I did that. I said I was going to do that, and it's done. And then you build momentum and you start building this relationship with yourself, and that's where confidence comes from. And then when you look good, you feel good. I can assure you that, like, I look today, the way I look today, I look much better than I did at the beginning of the year. And wearing a tight black t-shirt, I feel way better than wearing a large loose t-shirt with man titties hanging out. Like I don't like, if you look good, you're going to feel good. And if you're showing up feeling good, your energy is better. You're going to be more confident. You're going to be more likable. People are going to be attracted to you. Like it's everything is about momentum, but it starts with doing what you say you're going to do. Whether it's making the offer, underwriting the deal, calling the business broker, going out to a job and getting that bid out the same day, whatever it is that you put your name and your word on, following through with it is important. And that's where you're going to build. When you build a relationship with yourself and you have respect with yourself, you care less about what everybody else thinks. And that's when you're in a position of power and control, when you're controlling the controllables like Mark talks about, or the daily disciplines like I talk about. I know if I do my daily disciplines, I'm going to be in a good spot because I'm doing what I said I'm going to do. And I'm spending my time doing things that are moving the needle in different areas of my life, whether it's health and fitness, business, relationships, whatever it might be.
Man, that was a lot. I'm so excited to have you come down for Mike speaking at our mastermind. It's going to be great to see you, but I can't wait for you to speak. I really appreciate you coming out and coming on today. We just hit the hour mark. It's going to be exciting. I can't wait to see you come down and then what we got for 2023, what's in store.
Yeah, I'm pumped, man. And it's been super. I mean, our relationship's been awesome. You know, for you guys that don't know, Kevin and I met in Tim Brotz's Legacy Wealth Mastermind. And we just connected, two blue collar dudes out on the porch balcony, you know, talking about shit. And then we both migrated over to Mark's group and just grown our relationship. You know, we're doing some deals together now. You got some money with me, but it's been cool for me, dude, watching you grow in your business, but also starting the blue collar millionaire group and just that thing blowing up and really you showing up and just. It's the same thing, man. It's like you did no social media when I met you, and now you got a big group. You're throwing events, and it's cool about all of that for you. But what's really cool is the amount of people that are being helped. So when you stepped up and said, "Fuck it, I don't care what people think. I got 50 years of value and experience in business," and you decided to start opening the space and creating the space, like everyone who was ready for it has come. And then the amount of opportunity that's going to come for you and everyone involved in that because you decided to fucking show up and do what you said you were going to do. It's pretty awesome to watch, man. So I've been stoked to see that. And
Yeah,
I appreciate the opportunity.
I did no social media. I didn't feel like being on camera. I was like, I'll just be this guy behind the scenes. But I was like, let me give back. Let me do this. I do it anyway. Let me do it on a bigger scale. And it's just been really cool. And I think it's just going to keep growing. And now I got all these badasses like you and everybody in Dealmaker coming on the show. It's like, it's great. You know, one thing about, last thing about in your journey to like, whatever it is, build a big business, make a lot of money, all these different things. People don't realize you'll become a totally different person in the process. Yeah. I really didn't get that. I used to just like think about money. And then when I really focused on, let me just be the best version of myself. That's when like real money started to come. And you'll look back, I had a guy, I'd call him a mentor. I didn't really think of that, but this is like 10 years ago. He goes, when you get to a point where you're making like $1 million a year, your life will look totally different. You'll become a totally different person. He's like, your friends will look different. What you do will look different. You know, all these things. And I was like, what is he talking about? I'll still be friends with the same people. The truth is, I'm only friends with like the really good people. All the negative people in my life, they're long gone.
Yeah.
It's like they just get, it's just what happens. And I replaced them with people like you and Mark and all these other people. Now I have all these like high level people and all the people who like used to get drunk and text me at 2 a.m. and all that. They're all gone. They know.
Yeah. Cause I think, one of my life coaches explained this to me. It's like, as you raise your vibrational frequency, the people and relationships that you have, they're either going to have to subconsciously raise that to match where you're at now, or they're just going to kind of fade away. But if there's one thing, like your environment is so crucial, man. You have to audit your environment. Mark talks about that with us all the time, but like your environment is going to be the number one thing that is going to contribute to your success, or that's going to make sure that you don't obtain success, is going to be your environment, starting with the people that you're around. And then the stuff that you're consuming, whether it's what you're eating, you're listening to, you're watching, so you have to audit your environment, because your environment is going to be directly correlated to the experience that you're going to have, and the success that you do or don't have is going to be based on that environment. And a lot of people are so worried about losing family or friends, and what happens when you start shifting and changing, and it's like, hey man, I'm not going to go to the bar tonight, or no, I'm not going to do this, I'm going to do that. You're going to start catching people with their shitty comments like, oh, you think you're too good, or you're better now, or this or that, or you're changed, you're different. It's like, fuck yeah, I've changed and I am different because I got goals and a life I'm trying to build, and either you're in alignment with that or you're not. But in 10 years, I can promise you, like, what your loser fucking friends think today, you're not going to care in 10 years, because like, it's just not going to matter. So like, and I think that's probably what I see, like people I coach and just my experience and watching other people, it's super hard. I mean, when me and my brother first got into real estate, I remember his girlfriend's family saying, oh, you guys are never going to be successful in that. You're never going to be successful in real estate. You should get a real job and this and that. And it's like, I just laugh now when they, see what it looks like. But that's a very, very real thing. Like, it's a super real thing. And the more that you work on yourself and you're making moves and taking action and doing shit, it's going to shine a light on the people in your life who aren't doing that. The people who sold out, the people who quit, the people who gave up on all of their stuff. It's going to shine a light on them and what they're not doing. And they're going to criticize you for it. So you've got to be prepared for that, because I think that's the biggest hurdle when you're going from where you're at to where you want to be. You got to understand that's part of paying the price, and there's not everyone's coming with you. The majority of people aren't coming with you. And you really need to understand that, because if you worry about what other people think, like, it's going to get in the way of your success.
Man, well put. Hey, Mike, when we get off, shoot me a message with and tell us real quick about it too, about your podcast, and then put in the link how they can find you and everything so they can connect, because I think people are going to love listening to this. But tell me about your podcast.
So my podcast, Build a Lifestyle Podcast. It's got about 24, 25 episodes out. It was Freedom Lifestyle Experience, but I just rebranded it to Build a Lifestyle Podcast, and it's about building a lifestyle. But for me, and I think a lot of people, do we have time? You got a few more minutes?
Go ahead.
Okay, cool. So when you're first starting, and I got a long way to go, just to put that up front, but when you're first starting and the goal is to make money, I need money. Everything is about money. So what happened for me and what I see in a lot of other people is, when you have the money, then you're going to be happy. When you have the money, then you're going to have time to focus on health. You're going to have time to focus on relationships. Like, everything is about getting first. And have the money, you have this idea that once you have money, everything else is going to be cool. Well, when I netted 200 G's one month and I was 40 pounds overweight and my wife hadn't been home for a week and a half, I should have been on cloud nine. I just netted $200,000 in a month, and I was like 33 years old. And I was miserable. I was fat. I was depressed. I was miserable. I was addicted to stress, chaos, and anxiety. And that was when the light bulb went off to me. It's like, oh, money's not going to solve all my problems. I don't like who I am and all this stuff. So then I started looking at that, and, like, relationships matter and all these different things. So the Build a Lifestyle podcast is around just that, build a lifestyle. And for some people, like my sister, she doesn't care about being a millionaire. She wants to be a good mom and a good wife, and just have, a good home situation and have time with her kids and whatever. That's lifestyle to her. Like, lifestyle to me and you, we want to go dominate the world and be worth $100 million plus. So lifestyle is different for everybody. But the reality is, if you're making money but you're overweight and you're in a shitty relationship and your friends suck, then it doesn't really matter. So I really like to focus on lifestyle. So it's your money, your family, your relationships, health and fitness, your spiritual and self-development, and then experience or fun. So now I'm focused on all 6 of those areas, because no matter who you are, you have to have some of that at some capacity. Otherwise, I don't think you're going to have fulfillment. And having money but not being fulfilled isn't cool. Or, being spiritually sound and maybe having good relationships and all that, but you've given up on the idea that you can be successful and have money, that sucks too. So Build a Lifestyle is kind of about, like, hey, how do we build a lifestyle that's going to make me happy and the lifestyle that I ideally want? So that's what Build a Lifestyle Podcast is. You can follow me on Instagram, michael.burns, BURNZ. I'm on Facebook, Mr. Michael Burns. I'm just like you, dude. I'm just trying to build relationships. And, one thing that I really learned through COVID As COVID's when I started doing social media and finding my voice and being outspoken. And I just saw so many people through that just bitch out, just on themselves, like be told what they can and can't do. And I was just like, this is crazy, man. There's a whole nother way to live your life instead of just like what the system tells you to do. So that's where that all kind of came from. But I just kind of got sick of people fucking losing and thinking that they don't have any choice and no option. And like, you know, they're just going to be pushed around by the world. And I kind of feel like, fuck that. Like, you don't have to do that. Go build a lifestyle, man.
I love hearing you talk, Mike. I love how I feel. I always feel like real motivated after I talk to you and you go in on stuff. And I'm a really motivated person, but you always take me in the next level. I totally agree. I hate that so many people lower their standards and they just think they can't do everything they want. But
well, bro, they don't look. Hold on. They don't lower their standards. They don't have any fucking standards. That's the problem. So start setting some standards.
Yeah, that's a good one. People only do what you allow them to do. And yeah, everything you do, your life is basically the sum of your daily habits.
Yeah.
Where you are financially, if I could audit, you could go back and look at someone's life for the last 3 years. It will be 100% accurate where they are financially, physically, relationships. It will be obvious. It's just what happened over the last 3 years. It's not an accident.
Andy, so I'm an RTA, and Andy for Sell Ed always tell us that what you're experiencing today is a direct result of what you did over the 90 days ago.
I totally agree.
And that's if it's negative. And if it's positive, it's likely that you're going to have to be doing positive shit for 12, 18, 24 months to really see fruit. But doing negative stuff will fuck you up in 30 to 90 days.
Quick.
So yeah, so you really, monitoring that's important.
Mike, thanks so much for coming on.
Well, hopefully I brought some value, but work on you. And the more that you work on the internal, the better the external is going to get. I can promise you that. And if there was one thing you guys took away from it is work on yourself and who is it that I have to become that's capable of doing all this shit that I want to do in life and business.
Mike, it's awesome coming on. Hey, I'm going to end it, but I'm going to talk to you in this. I'll keep you on. All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you for the opportunity, bro. I appreciate you.
You got it.